everybody, welcome back. I hope you all had a lovely weekend. I'm completely bushed, as it were, at the moment. I'm so tired. I went back to visit friends and family over the weekend and I did 17 and a half hours worth of driving over the course of 3 days. There is something about driving that can really wipe the floor with you. But before I get started onto the royal news, I just wanted to say that I am aware that I haven't been around as much of late. Doing this big move halfway across the country has taken up a lot of my time, but I feel like my mojo is coming back. You'll be relieved to know that this video does not actually feature Meghan. Whew, yes, I think we're about to be oversaturated with her in the coming weeks because, as we know, on the 26th of August, With Love Meghan Part 2 Season 2 is coming back to Netflix. So until that point, I think we should have maybe just a little bit of avoidance. But there are gossipy stories coming out and there is a bit of a scandal that's gone on that doesn't involve those two, but it is that narrative that I've spoken about before, that the media are still really angry at Prince William and they are trying to make him out to be this evil villain. After the media got it very, very wrong with Catherine and William were going to move into the Royal Lodge, you remember that storyline? Prince William working with King Charles to evict Prince Andrew and Fergie from Royal Lodge because they want the bigger residence. I mean, I don't think you would have got many sympathy votes for Andrew and Fergie these days anyway, going, oh, how cruel. You know, it's pretty obvious that Andrew and Fergie don't really need a big place like that, especially with their children and their grandchildren, you know, living in completely different addresses. But then we had more recently, didn't we, which I pulled apart as well. Catherine and William are moving into Fort Belvedere, the place where King Edward signed his abdication papers. They listed off the fact that it had stables, tennis courts, swimming pools. It was all a big headline to make people in this country, we're really going for a bit of a cost of living crisis that seems to be getting worse. The last thing you want to do is in the morning when you're worried about paying your bills is to read Prince and Princess move into new palace. You know, it was designed to turn people against Catherine and William. But as you know, it didn't ring true for me and many others because Fort Belvedere has the Weston family living there, and yes, the patriarch of the family did die several years ago, but his family still live in it and they've got a lease on the property until somewhere in the mid-2050s. So of course that story to me was made up, but they finally got it right. Catherine and William, the Prince and Princess of Wales, are going to be moving and they have already started works on a property, a grade 2 listed property in the Windsor estate called Forest Lodge. The new home has 8 bedrooms, which is an upgrade from the 4-bedroom home that they've lived in since 2022 because they moved into Adelaide Cottage. Catherine and William have 3 children. Each child had a bedroom. They didn't have a live-in nanny. They didn't have any live-in staff. This was because of Catherine and William's insistence. They're trying to have their children have as much of a normal upbringing as possible. But on the grand scale of royal residences, I still think it's a modest home. I know some people are scoffing here, but as I said, this is the royal family, they're a prince and princess. But it's still in the Windsor estate. It's a property that's owned already by the Crown, so it's not going to cost the taxpayers anything. As the story has gradually unfolded, it's been revealed that Catherine and William are actually paying for the move themselves, they're paying for the renovations themselves. Catherine has also been picking out pieces of furniture from the storage facilities that they have on the Windsor estate, and they are also going to be paying the market value rent on the property. So they will be paying rent as well. The fact that it's owned by the Crown, they are still going to be the future King and Queen, they are the Prince and Princess of Wales, and they will be paying the rent the same as any other tenants that took over the property. So of course, with all that in mind, you think, well, how could the media spin this into a negative? This is not going to cost the taxpayers anything. They're paying for their own way, unlike another two that spent 2.4 million on decorating a home that she hated and they couldn't wait to leave. They knew that they were leaving it as well, remember that. But they have covered all of the costs themselves. So how are the media going to spin it? Surely they can't spin it negatively. Well, the Mail on Sunday said, hold my beer. William and Kate forever home fallout. 2 families have been asked to leave their homes so the Prince and Princess of Wales can live in an 8-bedroom mansion. It's all in the wording, isn't it? The families highlighting the Prince and Princess, you know, they're quite happy to call her Kate Middleton a lot of the time, but because they want the dramatics here, the horror, move into an 8-bedroom mansion. According to the Mail on Sunday, they have said that the 2 families were left shocked and surprised that they were asked to vacate their premises. And I quote, "A well-connected source has told the Mail on Sunday that the families were told to move out." And they said, I guess they were given somewhere else, but they were told that they had to move. So the source is so well connected that they've been able to reveal this information to the Mail on Sunday that they have been kicked out of their homes, but they don't know if they have been given another home or whether they were just, as I said, cruelly thrown out onto the streets. But then after this article has gone down a few paragraphs, then they slip in there that no eviction notices were given to the family, and in fact they were asked to move, and I'd imagine very, very politely with plenty of notice, but they were allowed to remain on the Windsor estate and they were offered properties equal to or better, it says. So my money is on the latter. They were offered, with Catherine and William, you know the way that they are with people. I can imagine that these families were like, we're really sorry, but we are moving here. Here's a nicer property that you can move to. And the Mail on Sunday know that. That's why they mentioned it. But then they also said they could have moved to a property equal in value or actually better. They know, otherwise they wouldn't mention it at all. So it's clearly obvious this was just all whipped up to make Catherine and William out to be like these evil, greedy prince and princess kicking poor families out onto the street, left to fend for themselves, selling matchsticks on the streets. This is how ridiculous the Mail on Sunday and the Daily Mail have become. Now, we know that they have become pro-Harry and Meghan. You know that the editor-at-large, Charlotte Griffiths, is very much pro-Harry and Meghan on her stance. And you've also got someone that I call a sycophant of the couple is Bryony Gordon. Because whenever she does a story on Harry and Meghan, it's my dear friend Harry, my wonderful friend Meghan. And I think we all know deep down that Bryony probably doesn't even get a birthday card off of Meghan and Harry, let alone invited to the family parties and all of that. Bryony is someone that they're obviously very nice to, and I'm sure Meghan sends her a lovely basket every now and then. But it's the whole love bombing to make sure that Bryony only ever writes really sickly sweet articles about them, and boy, she really does. So despite the Daily Mail saying in the headlines there was a fallout, in the story they do not actually explain what the fallout was over, who the fallout was with, because, well, there wasn't a fallout. And anybody, regardless if you're living on a royal estate, if you are a tenant renting your property, which they were, you always have at the back of your mind, it's not yours, you don't own it. At some point you could be asked to move. As I said, they were just clearly desperate to try and spin this as a negative. The fact that Catherine and William have had it released that they are paying for the moves, the renovations, they are using old furniture, it's not a castle, it's not a palace, they couldn't really spin that. So they were frothing at the mouth, trying to find a way that they could turn that into a negative. And it just shows the desperation of constantly trying to tear down Prince William. And I think this all stems back to because he's cut them off. You've seen the shift. Harry runs to them and gives them stories, as does Meghan. They love that. They want to print the stuff. It's what makes them money. But Catherine and William have always, you know, kept their privacy, and they've got a tight circle of friends. But now William, I believe, has shut those gates even further because of what happened to Catherine and how they treated her. From the very beginning, when Catherine had to go have major abdominal surgery, they started nitpicking how long she'd have off of work. We had people appearing and giving talks, doctors, not knowing what surgery she was having or why, but speculating. And then you had the people trying to hack into her medical records. Then Catherine was forced to tell the world early because of this that she had cancer before the story got sold to members of the media. And then of course you had that ridiculous over-the-top campaign against Catherine because she edited that photograph. And let's be honest, she didn't Photoshop other people's children's faces onto her children. It was nothing major. She straightened up a zip, she aligned a jacket, she made sure Prince Louis's hand wasn't blurry. She just wanted a nice picture presented to the world. Some media outlets were so desperate to pull apart Catherine, they actually engaged the services of crime scene analyst experts to pull apart the picture pixel by pixel. And I can't imagine Prince William was feeling too forgiving of this constant harassment and bombardment of his wife. I think it's obvious that he's cut them off as well, because it's clear that they caught wind that Catherine and William were thinking of moving. So then they did the Royal Lodge, they did the Fort Belvedere, there were a few other stories that came out. They knew something was happening, but they couldn't crack Prince William's circle to get the information out. And I think the last one might have been a red herring. So of course they were so certain, weren't they? And they all ran with this story that Catherine and William were moving into Fort Belvedere, and they ended up looking like the complete and utter fools. And the Daily Mail, even in that article, the Mail on Sunday, even put in there that they were given the misinformation. And I'm thinking, I wonder who might have planted that little seed. Now, moving away from the royal move, let's talk about a royal engagement. Now, I'm sure most of you are already aware of this storyline, and that is Peter Phillips, Princess Anne's son. He has got engaged recently to his NHS nurse girlfriend, Harriet Sperling. The couple look really happy. She's clearly been taken in to the royal fold. The king obviously has a soft spot for her already, so it's very clear that this is all accepted. The whole family is happy for them. Now, I can't imagine that this is going to be a huge wedding because, one, Harriet and Peter have both been married before. Peter is, of course, as well, only 19th in line to the throne, and I just can't see them having some big bells and whistles cathedral huge white wedding. I mean, we could be wrong. I don't think many people expected Harry to marry a divorcee who rocked up looking like Miss Havisham. And in a news story that has come out regarding Peter and Harriet's lovely news of their engagement, it will surprise none of you that Harry and Meghan have managed to get themselves involved. Any royal event, no matter what it is, any big royal news story, they somehow managed to get themselves involved with it. And this is no different. Because of course, family wedding, that can mean only one thing. Are Harry and Meghan going to come? Are Harry and Meghan going to turn down the invite? I don't think anybody in that family wants Harry there. Can you imagine the atmosphere? Now, I do understand that the media sometimes make up stuff, clickbait, okay? And it's very hard to tell because Harry and Meghan make up so much stuff. So it's hard to know, are they putting these stories out there for attention, or has the media done this just for clickbait? I'll let you decide after I've told you about this story. According to a few reports, Harry's list of demands begin like this. Harry would like his security team, well, not like, he is demanding his security team go with him. Doesn't matter if it's a grand affair, doesn't matter if it's a low-key affair. What bride would want a 3-car motorcade rocking up with all of these men getting out of the car to protect Harry? You know, Harry wants his privacy whilst also saying, look at me. Obviously, that's not anything I think any of the guests would really want to see. Prince William, the future king, managed to go to his friend's wedding, the Duke of Westminster, and he got in and out of the people carrier alongside the other guests, and he was an usher at that wedding. Yes, I'm not stupid. I'm sure there were a couple of plainclothes police officers in disguise there. I mean, they had a lot of security at the wedding anyway, but they would have some security at Peter and Harriet's wedding, especially if any of the senior royals go. So Harry would be protected anyway. But this is Harry and he wants his own security. Basically, I want the attention on me whilst also screaming, I want to be left alone. And then his second demand, which ties in with this, is Harry wants his own entrance time. I'm sorry, the only people that get entrance times, or, you know, the only entrance that people care about at a wedding is going to be the person officiating the wedding, the groom, and then the bride. Those 3 people is what makes a wedding. And again, I think this is Harry doesn't want to arrive, they're saying, because he doesn't want to clash with William. Get over yourself. Prince William will walk into that church alongside everybody else just as he did at his friend's wedding. Harry wants the spectacle of the cars turning up and then him getting out of the car pretending he's not looking at the media and the flashing cameras, thus drawing so much more attention to himself than if he just got out of a car alongside some other guests and just went into the church. Now, the third demand, Harry has reportedly demanded that he will not be in any wedding pictures alongside his brother because he, I quote, he doesn't want to be part of any fake PR reunion. You think Prince William does? I mean, it was Harry and Harry's staff that leaked the meetup, wasn't it? More recently with Meredith Maines, and there's going to be a reunion with Harry and the King. That got leaked. I don't think the royal family leaked that, but now Harry's saying, I don't want to be in any fake PR reunion. I don't think Prince William wants to see you ever again. I don't think he wants to speak to you. I don't think he wants to look at you. But do I think Prince William, at his cousin's wedding, knowing this is someone else's big day, would he quietly put up and shut up the exact same thing that he did at their uncle's funeral? Yes, Prince William would, because he knows it's not about him, whereas all Harry knows is how to make everything about him. Now, as I said, this could be genuinely made up as clickbait by the media. This doesn't necessarily have to have come from Harry's camp. But as quick as this story came out, we then had counter stories coming out saying it was in fact Prince William who has put in one demand. Prince William's demand, right, is he wants to have top tier seating at the wedding. Prince William wants to be seated at his cousin's wedding to reflect his position as future king. Now, compare the demands. Those three demands sound very, very Harry. That one demand, apparently, by Prince William, he wants his position at his cousin's wedding to reflect his future role as king, doesn't sound anything like Prince William, and I'm calling bullshit. I can't imagine any bride or groom would want that sort of circus at their wedding. Plus, as I said, if other members of the royal family are going to be in attendance, which I'm sure they will be, how would they draw straws as to who would be stuck next to Harry? He would create such a dark cloud and everybody would be worried that they're going to turn on the TV the following morning having their cup of tea and reading the newspaper, and there'll be Harry's face on TV revealing every intimate detail, every intimate conversation, or they'll end up in Spare 2.0 or another magazine exclusive with People magazine the days following. They are not going to be able to trust him, and Harry has proved time and time again that he's not actually worthy of any of their trust. He's no longer associated with them, and it would seem he's no longer even associated with his wife. Meghan has surpassed him with all of her career ambitions, and I think he's very much surplus to her requirements. She didn't even have him in her birthday pictures. She hasn't defended him despite all of the negative press, the backlash, the accusations of racism. Harry has pretty much been left to defend himself. Meghan is no longer salt and pepper moving together, and I think Harry knows that, and I think now he's just desperately trying to claw back some sort of royal relevancy. Desperately trying to remind the world, hey, don't forget me, I still exist. And yeah, you do exist, Harry, but the thing is, nobody cares. So, on that note, guys, I will be back with you very soon for another royal news and, of course, a bit of royal gossip. So take care for now. See you soon. Bye.